hello. Welcome to 2019. Sure, and 2019 has started. It has certainly not, it's not leaving many prisoners so far. So welcome to the first, sorry, I'm just moving this table closer to me. Welcome to the first weekly message from Spirit for 2019. I'm so excited to be joining you again. I've had a little bit of a break from doing these. I did 1 or 2 live readings, I think this is way. But really, we're now back to Monday nights, and we're going to be connecting every Monday night and focusing on what it is that Spirit can offer us. And 2019, many of you are joining me on the Soul Compass workshop this weekend, and we'll go into a lot more of what 2019 is about. But from a numerology perspective, this is a 3-year, and a 3-year is all about playfulness and joy and integration and perspective. It's a mind, body, spirit integration, a lot about the masculine and feminine integration. And really working at bringing all the parts of ourselves together and working in union and unity with ourselves and each other. So a great year for partnerships, a great year for creativity, a great year for joy. If there's one word that describes 2019, it's going to be a year of insistence around following your joy. And those of us that continue to invest in the struggle and making the struggle the predominant energy that we choose to be in, we're going to find it harder than those of us that start to embrace ease. And so we're going to kick off, as we always do, by I'm going to connect with my guides, and I'm going to do pull 3 cards, and you can think of these as very much a sort of weather report is the way I talk about it often. And so we're going to get a card of, what is it that we most need to pay attention to this week? What needs to be noticed? And this is sort of a call to wake up. And then what is there that supports us this week, and what is the card for enlightenment? And the card for enlightenment is quite an important card. It's almost sort of like a pull card. It pulls you to more of your light and pulls you to higher consciousness. I asked for the crystal for this week, and I pulled that just before I started. And the crystal that came forward is a beautiful, beautiful crystal. It's not one that you get very big pieces in, and that is ruby. So I'm not sure if you can see this tiny little piece. It looks very dark, almost black on the screen, but it's not. It's got this very deep scarlet red to it. I'm not sure you can see it in this light. Maybe there you can see it, almost like a browny red. And a ruby, most of us think of ruby as a very expensive ruby, but this is a sort of raw crystal ruby. A ruby is a life force. It's like, if you look at it, it's very much like blood. It's got, if you think of congealed blood, and that's a terrible way of describing ruby, but it's got that same sort of thick murkiness. And so it's like this sort of life force of connecting in with the earth and allowing sort of the beat of the earth to fill us up. And so this is deeply around connecting back to the heartbeat of life, and allowing that force of life to work with us. And many of us aren't aligned to this drum beat, to the heartbeat, to the of life. We're kind of so in our heads that we're busy out in air. And so this is like pulling us into our body. Remember, I said it's a 3-year. It's a lot to do with integration. And to deal with integration, you've got to be in your body. And so there's a lot of physical work that's going on at this point in time. Right. So nice to see so many of you here. Happy New Year of those of you that I haven't seen or spoken to. Right, so I'm going to start off with the sort of general message. As I said, the 3 cards. I have some very exciting news. The new cards that I've been working on will be ready in a prototype next week, Monday. So I'll be using them next week, Monday, for the first time. Those of you that are coming on Soul Compass will see them. And so they're going to be ready for pre-orders in the next week or 2. So I'm so excited to be sharing those with you. They're really looking so beautiful. But tonight I'm still working with my original set of cards. Okay, so I'm calling forward my guides and asked that only messages that support the highest good of all come forward. And this message is really available for anyone, whether you hear the message tonight, tomorrow, or any time in the future. There'll be something in this message that's important for you to hear. Right, so the first card that comes forward, as I said, is the card that's asking us to wake up. Is what do we need to pay attention to? What's sort of like Spirit's way of giving us messages to wake us up and pull us back into consciousness. And the card that comes forward for the first one for 2019 is Step into Your Full Power. So there's like this invitation, and I've been doing, I'm not sure if some of you have seen the sort of the offer that I've done for the 2019 readings. It's an offer for a remote reading, which is about the invitation from your higher self. And there's been so many invitations coming forward in the readings that I've been doing about, stop sabotaging yourself, stop playing small, stop holding yourself back, stop punishing yourself, stop resisting that which you're good at doing. And that's the message that's coming forward. It's like, what is power look like for you? Now, when we're talking about power here, we're not talking about control, not talking about dominance, we're not talking about ownership. We're talking about the power of being you. Just sometimes by acknowledging that you walk in a room, and just by walking in the room, you've had an impact. And what is that impact? What is the power of you? And you come in this amazing package. You've got this body that you've chosen. You've got the gifts that you have your voice. You have the way that you can work with people. Even just the way we look at people sometimes can be a powerful look. It can create healing. It can create disturbance. It can create pain. And owning that it's impossible for you to not have an impact. So starting to own what is the impact you want to have, this becomes a really important thing. Like it really is time to pay attention to that, I think, is the way they're showing it the most. It's like, I'm going to be, you'll see in the next couple of weeks, lots is going to be happening. And I'm launching the I Am Lightwalker School. And I Am Lightwalker is a concept that came forward through a channeling that I did. Many of you were there, those of you that are part of the Lifting the Veil crowd. And I'm in this light walker thing. It's about what is the trail you leave behind you. If you think of like a snail, and a snail, if you turn back and look, it's always left this trail behind it. What is the trail that you leave behind you? That is your imprint on the earth. That is your destiny, and that is your legacy. And so we can leave a trail of misery, we can leave a trail of nothingness because we are not awake and we're just taking random steps. Or we can leave a trail of love, and we can leave a trail of impact. And so what's the trail? If you just look back today, what's the impact you've had? What's the trail you've left behind you today? And this isn't about judging yourself. This is about noticing, and then noticing what's within your power. How do you start leaving a trail of peace and love and compassion and assertiveness and boundaries and impact, so that you can own that, and you can look back and say, that was what I offered. Yeah, so that is the calling this week, is to pay attention to the calling for power. What is the power of you, your unique power, and how you show up in the world? So what support is available for you in doing this? And I just love these cards when they do this. If we have a look at, pay attention to power, but the support is playfulness. And so what support is available for us is the energy of play. Now, when we play, most of us don't get too serious about it. That is the energy of playfulness. We were on holiday, and my daughter's boyfriend was on holiday with us, and it was amazing. I kept bringing it to his awareness and teasing him a little bit that whenever we were playing a game, he would get so competitive that there was no fun in it anymore for him. Like, he lost the fun component because it was all about winning. And so this is not power. This is where we lose our power. So to remain light-hearted and playful, which means we're not attached to the outcome. We're experimenting, we're exploring, we're just noticing what happens if I add this color. What changes when I dance this way, when I do something this way. And an attitude of playfulness. If you've ever watched a child play, or even allowed yourself just the joy of playing, then it's so creative, and it's so non-goal orientated. And that becomes something that just allows miracles to happen. Now, miracles only happen when we're in a state of play. What I mean by miracles is these random, strange things that manifest itself that you never ever thought was there before and was impossible. When we're working at something, we can't find the possibility of what's going to be available. But when we just stop working at it and we play, then suddenly things, solutions, ideas, inspirations, strategies, all sorts of things, these miracle moments occur. And so engage with the power of miracles is notice how you're sabotaging yourself, and then lighten up, get playful with what it is that you're doing. So what's the call for enlightenment this week? The call for enlightenment is to call back your spirit. Call back your spirit. Now, especially over the holiday period and especially over the last year where there's been quite a lot of calling to do a lot of deep work, is that any stress that we've had, any trauma that we've had, any difficulty we've had, we often, remember earlier I was talking about walking through the day and we leave this trail behind us, but we can often leave our spirit behind. We can often leave a piece of ourselves in that meeting earlier where we were having an argument. And our piece of our spirit's there because it was just so disheartening. I was doing some work this morning, and it wasn't work that I particularly was enjoying. To be honest, it was some corporate work, and I was finding myself in a place of not feeling very energized by it. And I realized for about 4 hours after that, I just was out of sorts and I just was not present to myself. And I'd left a piece of me behind there because of my own judgment of myself, because of my own frustration with what was going on. This is normal, but when you notice that you're not feeling full, you're not feeling in your power, you're not feeling like you can face what needs to be faced, just command your spirit back to you. To pull it back from that moment where maybe it wasn't the perfect moment for you, certainly wasn't for me this morning, but to call it back and allow yourself to be fully immersed in your own pleasure, in your own joy, in your own power, in your own grace, and not let that linger somewhere else outside of you. And so this could be a phenomenal thing to sit down and do, is to every night before you go to bed, is to command any piece of my spirit from across time and space to come back to me now and to fully participate in my life now, and allow yourself to embody that. Right, so there we have it. That's the first weekly message from Spirit. Now, such a cool one, yeah? So, those of you that are new here, I'm going to go into doing some one-on-one readings. I don't scroll back, so, just keep asking if you want one. If I don't pull your name, it's not because you're being ignored. It's not because Spirit doesn't love you. It's not because I have a vendetta against you. It really is, my attention gets pulled to people who, when I give that reading, it's going to be the most supportive reading for whoever's watching. So please make sure, if you don't get called, there probably is a message for you somewhere in what we are doing. Right, so let us see who wants to answer. So Jenny van Deventer. She's getting called forward first. So Jenny, let us see what your guides would like to tell you tonight. If you were watching on the at the beginning, and I was talking about 2019 is a 3-year, and the 3-year is about integration, and that is the card that you've got, is integration, mind, body, spirit, integration, and the interconnectedness of these. And you'll see the power of the triangle coming forward, and that's definitely one of the symbols for this year, is the triangle. I'm working with the sort of 3 premises, and the triangle obviously also has a relationship with the sort of prism and pyramid. Now, Jenny, the message is coming forward for you specifically from a mind, body, spirit integration, is the sort of embracing the physical aspect of life. It's one thing to be focusing on the intellectual aspects of life and to kind of have a sense of your mind being okay. But if you're not embracing the physicality of your life, which means very practically all aspects of physicality, which is looking after your body and enjoying your body, I'm going to say that again, enjoying your body, enjoying the movement of your body, enjoying the sensuality of your body, enjoying the sexuality of your body, enjoying the sort of opportunity your body gives you for a physical and earthly experience, and having a level of awareness. And it's, your guides are saying it's like you ignore a lot of the physical aspects going on in your life, and you ignore your physical needs in that way. And this is a calling to bring that into awareness, because for you to be able to hold the energy frequency that you would like to be holding, your physical experience is one that needs to be more, not even nurtured, just paid attention to, just noticing it, like a very simple thing. And I'm going to say it as a simple thing, even though it's a very difficult thing for many people, is to look at yourself in the mirror. I can't tell you how many women in particular, and I don't think it is just women, but it's just the data that I have from the work that I've been doing, that do not look at themselves in the mirror. And if they do, it's always with a level of action or a level of criticism. But to, even if you could do it naked, to stand in front of the mirror and admire your body, admire yourself in the mirror. And that admiration doesn't mean lying to yourself, like, oh, I think you're so beautiful, if you don't. It's just admire, thank you, look how strong my legs are. Look how amazing my body is. Because it does so much for you to support you. And so your guides are showing a real need to pay attention to the physical aspects, your physical body at this point in time, and to start acknowledging that, thanking that, loving that, for you to be able to house the energy that you're wanting to house. So there you have it. I hope that makes sense to you, my love. Zenny, right, let's see. It's my birthday month. I'd love a reading from Spirit. Turned a year older last week, Tuesday the 8th. Happy birthday, Zenny. It was my birthday on the 10th. So yeah, January is a month for us Capricorns, yeah. So I wish you a very happy birthday. Let us see what it is your guides would like to tell you, Zenny. Okay, Zenny, turn and face your future. Your past does not define you. Turn and face your future. Your past does not define you. So this is kind of like the way your guides are showing it is, and it could be just a timing thing at this point in time, or it might be more of a pattern. You can determine that for yourself. But it's almost like you're spending a lot of time in reflection. And the reflection is in what has happened, you know, what have been the patterns, and sometimes even just almost a continual reflection of the past. Not even from a negative perspective necessarily, just that's the reference point for decision making, is there's a lot of energy in reflection. Now, reflection is that sort of energy of what has happened. And if we wanted to balance out reflection, we would balance it out with the energy of intention. And intention is about a sort of putting ourselves forward and propelling ourselves into a state of desire of where we want to go to. Obviously, the most important thing is to be in the present moment. But when we are present and we have a reflection and intention then become the wisdom for us to. So it's a wisdom and alignment, I think is the way they talk about it. The wisdom of what we've learned and the alignment of being clear about where we're going to. And when we only have one side of this equation, we're out of balance. Remember the 3 year of being in balance and the messages that are coming forward through there. And so this is about balancing out reflection with intention and sitting and noticing on a daily basis, what is it that I intend for today? Now, this does not need to be, I intend to wash the dishes today. It could be that intention for presence, the intention for love, the intention for engagement, the intention for synchronicity, the intention for whatever it is when you align your physical body and your actions with an intention, and you hold it and you say, today I intend to be present to every person I meet, or as many people I meet as possible. Now you've given yourself something to anchor a way forward with. Now, whether you do it or not is not the most important part. It's getting clear on starting to set intentions, because it's almost like at the end of each day, you're reflecting on each day. They're kind of saying at the start of the day, set an intention. And then when you're reflecting, you can reflect against that intention. You can start to see what is happening for you there. So I hope that fits for you, my darling. It's nice to see you. Happy, happy, happy birthday. Right, let us see who is next. Cornell, they're calling you forward. So let us see what your guides want to tell you tonight, Cornell. All right, sorry, I'm seeing some of these messages coming forward. Okay, Cornell, let us see. It's not a nice laugh. Sorry, when I do that, it's not kind. I know you, so this is message going to make sense for you. Detach from anything holding you back. Detach from anything holding you back. Now, this card is a card of, it's not so much about letting go as much as it is about noticing what you're holding on to. And we can hold on to fears, we can hold on to identities, we can hold on to people, we can hold on to old philosophy, we can hold on to a frequency that doesn't serve us. And so, it's kind of like learning not to pull yourself in many directions, because what can happen is we may be doing a lot of work on a spiritual level, and we're setting the intentions, and so this is useful for the message that's just been given. We're setting these intentions, and we're working on our energy and our vibration, we're channeling, we're doing all these things, but we have not released some of our ideas of who we think we should be on a physical level. And so now we get pulled in opposite directions. And so what is it that and this is the word that they bring in very clearly, what is it from a fear base that you're holding on to that is stopping you from soaring, stopping you from shifting, stopping you from shining, stopping you from moving? And it's kind of like the spiritual work's not enough. There's a physical act you may need to take to cut ties with something, to break up with the idea of something. And it could be breaking up with the idea of approval. It could be breaking up with the idea of safety. It could be breaking up with all sorts of things. But my love, it's like, when you have a look at this, if you imagine the heat going into this hot air balloon and it's pulling, but we haven't released these cords. And so if we haven't released these cords, it's like our tension down and a tension up, and we kind of go nowhere. And that can be a little bit difficult. So this is a big year for you, Cornell. You know that there's a big calling to make an impact from the work that you do. The portals are all open for you to be bringing forward the information you need to be sharing. But if you keep holding yourself back, you're going to find yourself burning out in that process. So that's not a negative. That's not a warning. They're saying, come, like, just cut the cords, cut the cords, cut the cords. Let's fly. It's time to soar, my love. I hope that makes sense for you. Right. Thank you. Stephanie Gombert, sorry. So we have a sip here. Stephanie Gombert. Right, Stephanie, let us see what your guides would like to tell you today. Please feel free to share this or let others know about it. And if you enjoy these readings and you feel like it's something you would like to support, then what's a review on my page is always welcome, because it's something that's a lovely way of telling others what you experience here. Okay, Stephanie, the card that's come forward for you is own the part you are playing. Own the part you are playing. Now, this card is often, or this message is often one where people go into some sort of form of self-criticism or self-analysis of like, oh, am I doing something wrong? And I think what they're actually bringing forward an awareness for you is to notice the level of self-criticism you've got going on, is that there's this persistent voice that's criticizing you and expecting you or talking quite meanly to yourself. Now, we all have that critical voice, and it's one of the things that the ego we play with. And a critical voice, we believe, is a way of forcing us to be better, to be stronger, to guard against arrogance and all these sorts of things. But actually, we don't need to guard against any of those things, because you're not those things. Yeah, you're kind, you're loving, you're supportive. You're somebody who has a very willing and open heart, and sometimes too much, because there's a need for some boundaries, but there's no need for the level of self-doubt and criticism that's going on. And so the awareness you guys are saying is just pay attention to that voice of criticism, that voice of doubt, that voice of, niggling. And I mean, I say this to many of my clients. If I had to take that voice and record it, and we all have it, that voice, oh, you're so stupid, why'd you do that, when you're going to get it right, you know your stuff, that voice that all of us have. If we had to record that, and if I had to play that to you, and or play it to someone else, most of the time I think I'd never walk around saying that to somebody else. Why? Because it's cruel, and it's mean, and it's not necessary. And so this is about learning to be nicer to yourself, kinder to yourself, and to balance that voice of self-criticism with a voice of self-care, a voice of self-love, a voice of self-appreciation. So I hope that makes sense for you, Stephanie. Right, who is next? Lucy. Lucy Page. Pretty please, may I have a reading? Really, really, really need one. Okay, well, here it is, Lucy. Let us see what you guys would like to tell you. If you're online and you haven't heard something that resonates for you, then please just keep asking, and we'll get through as many of you as we can to try and support you at this point in time. Right, Lucy says, yay. All right, so it's a message that came forward earlier in the 3-card reading, the general reading. I was talking about this card of playfulness. And so you can go back, Lucy, and listen to that if you didn't hear it earlier as well. Pleasure, Stephanie. The way your guides are coming forward around this concept is they kind of have a slightly different nuance of it. So I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, they're coming forward almost like they're about to play a game of cricket. Now, this does not mean you are a cricket player or you should be playing cricket or any of these things, but they're using cricket as the metaphor. And when we have a look at the game of cricket, they say, it's quite a strategic game. But there's many parts going on. There's, if we're the fielding team, there's the bowler, there's the wicket keeper, and then there's all the fielders around the field, and they're all strategically placed in different parts. And then obviously the batting team has the 2 people batting, but the rest of the team are there as a support. Now, when we have a look at this game, it's about finding out what's the best part for you to play. There's no point in bowling if you're not one of the best bowlers. Even if you think bowling's cool, if you're not one of the best bowlers, then it's much better to play to the strengths you have and to play to what it is that you do well. And so, we see this often with small children, is there seems to be a stereotypically in our mind the good part to play, and then we all want to play that rather than saying, but that's not the part I do best. And this is the message they're bringing forward for you, Lucy, is it's a need to focus on what are you good at, which part do you play well, not at cricket. So just use that as the metaphor, but at work or in your home or in your friendships or in your life. What is your unique contribution? What is the part that you are really, really good at doing, and allowing yourself to do that, and notice that with a level of permission that what you do adds value, and not to compare yourself to others, and try and do what they're doing, so that looks like the cool thing to do. So this is a really sort of a calling for uniqueness and to play your part in your life to the best of your ability. I hope that makes sense for you and connects for you. It's about really a little bit of dropping the comparison to others, yeah? All right, let us see who's next. Taryn, how are you doing? I see some things are shifting in your life, very exciting. So let's see what your guides have to tell you about that, or about anything. It's a pleasure, Lucy. I'm glad you love it. Right. Okay, Karen, so your message for tonight. Okay. You're not being punished. Okay, so it's a random card, they're saying. So it's a card that we need to debrief in a couple of ways because it may not make complete sense when you first see it. Because if there's this premise of you can be punished by God, divine, life, the universe, whatever it is, the opposite concept of that is that you can be rewarded. And so this really stems back to many of us have the belief, and it comes from a childhood and very much amplified by many religions. Not that it's wrong or right, it's just there's an amplification there. That if I'm good, I will be rewarded, and if I'm bad, I will be punished. Yeah? And so when things are going well, we start to obsess about what am I doing that I'm getting these rewards, and we start to fear things that are working out well in our lives. And then when things go badly, we start analyzing ourselves about what am I doing wrong, because this is clearly a punishment. And so that's not the way the universe works at all. There's no divine being going like, oh, let's reward us. It doesn't work this way. Everything is just a magnet and a reflection back. And there's the law of abundance and the law of attraction is really about whatever you're putting out is what you get back. And again, this is not a punishment. It's just an opportunity for calibration. And so it sounds like, or it feels like the way they're showing it is that things are going better, like things have turned. You know, there's some exciting things going on for you. I've seen some of them, but generally there's a place of much more ease. You can relax with this. You don't need to go into like the analysis of it and the idea that you're being rewarded. So, you know, you must keep being good. What's much more useful for you to do is to notice how are you engaging with life? How do you feel with life? And to harness that and to capture that as something that you like, and that the universe is responding in a way that you are appreciating. And so it's kind of trusting good things, whatever that is to trust it. Yeah, that's something you can enjoy. Just enjoy. Candace, Lee Ray, Happy New Year. Hope you're well, Taryn. Please can I have a reading? New relationship. Okay, let us see what they want to tell you about your relationship, Candace. New relationships can be interesting and exciting and scary, all at the same time. Okay, so stick with me a little bit before you jump to any conclusions when you see this card, Candace. The message that's come forward for you is it's time to give up. Yeah. So you're going to read this and probably think that it's time to give up on the relationship, and that's not what they're talking about at all. So that's why they say stick with us a little bit. They want to give you some context around this card. It's not easy for you to trust. It's not easy for you to let other people into your space. It's not easy for you to allow yourself to be cared for, supported, and there's good reasons for all of this. But that's the part that they're saying that it's time to give up on. Now, when they say it's time to give up, they're not. It's not they're not like warning. They're not saying if you don't. There's no manipulation. They're saying there's a shift in energy for you, and there's almost like this opportunity to learn about yourself in relationships. So whether this relationship is one that lasts or doesn't last is not really the most important thing right now. Although, we all have those questions. What's more important for you to be paying attention to is, what do you like in this relationship? What do you like about yourself in this relationship? What are you aware of? If the person in your life is offering to do something, do you accept the offer? If the person in your life says they're going to do something and they don't do it, do you speak up and say you're unhappy about that? Your own level of expression and finding your own boundaries in a relationship so that you can trust yourself in a relationship. That's a really important thing of what's going on here. And so the more you can look at this relationship as an opportunity, an experiment, there's lots to learn. And that doesn't mean it's negative or good. It's just there's lots to learn here. And this relationship is very, very much, it's in this sort of, I've got this sort of golden haze around it, which shows me that it's necessary. It's a divinely necessary relationship, and there's a lot karmically going on in this relationship. And the more awake you can stay, the more present you can stay to your own experience and to your own boundaries and to your own voice and to your own expression, that's going to give you a lot for this relationship. So I hope that makes sense for you. Thank you, Alexa. All right, Charlene Forbes, BT, please may I have some guidance? Yes, you may. Yes, you may. Yes, you may. Right, let us see, Charlene, what it is your guides would like to tell you tonight. Pleasure, Candace. Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. Right, let us see, Charlene, what your guides are telling you. All right, so the message that's come forward for you, Charlene, is connect back to source. Connect back to source. So, Charlene, the way your guides come forward is it's like a reminder they have for you. So like a reminding you of what are the things in your life. If you had to reflect over the past few years, they say, and when are the times that you felt most awake, most engaged, most supported, most loved? There are certain routines and certain people and certain things that you were doing in your life that kept you very centered, very connected to you and to the source of you and to your own divinity. And then there's times where you get distracted, as we all do, and then it's like you lose track of this. And it's very much about sort of daily routines, daily rituals, or weekly routines, weekly rituals, and people that you're spending time with. Is which are the people in your world that when you're with them, you have healthier practices in your life, and that makes you feel more alive. When I say healthier, I don't mean it in the sort of like unhealthy or healthy. I'm talking about it's healthy for you. It brings you to a place of connection to the source of you and the self in you. And it's your guides kind of want to remind you to notice this as a pattern, not in the right wrongness of it, but just in the opportunity it presents for you. Because the more you align yourself with the people that bring you closer to the source of you, and that, in other words, you feel good about yourself when you're with these people, and the routines and practices that keep you engaged with the flow of life, then this is a much better energy for you than when you're engaging with people that are draining or detracting or you don't feel great around. And it's noticing this, because this is an important pattern for you to notice in your life at this point in time. So I hope that fits for you, Charlene, and makes sense for you, yeah? Right. Nikki Fisto. Let's see what your guides want to tell you, Nikki. All right, so Let's see what they want to say. Okay. There's a card for you. It's going to be a weird one to see at this point in time, but it says rest. Take a break. Indulge yourself. And you'll see this sort of fern is really about unfolding. It's about creating sort of a space for receptivity so that this fern can receive everything it needs from the earth and unfold to be the full blossom that it is. And so this is about a receptive energy. This is about taking a break from giving, and allowing yourself to become more receptive, to indulge yourself in being cared for or taking care of yourself. So it's a little bit of a card for some self-care. So it's not necessarily rest around sleep. It could be rest around enjoying a hobby or doing something you really want to do. It could even just be about, cooking a meal you want to cook as opposed to cooking meals everybody else wants. And so it's a level of self. It's like what brings you to a place of indulgence. And indulgence doesn't need to mean like an overindulgence. Indulgence can mean like it's a sense of joy, it's a sense of pleasure, and it brings me into a sensory experience that wakes me up, and that I, there's a level of care here for myself. That can be a nice bath or a good massage or having your nails done. It could be one of those things, but it doesn't have to be those things. It could be just, snoozing for 5 minutes, or it could actually be getting up and going for a walk. It's anything that brings you back to a state of appreciation of yourself so that your body's at a place of rest, as in it's not fighting for attention. And that's what rest means, is there's no need to fight for attention. And sometimes like your sense of self is fighting for attention from you, because everybody else seems to get a little bit more attention than you get yourself. So I hope that fits for you there. Vandana Patel, let us see what your guides would like to tell you tonight, Vandana. All right. Let's see, Vandana. Okay, the card that's come forward for you, Vandana, is be real about what you feel. Be real about what you feel. Okay, so it's interesting, when I connect with your guides, everything goes silent. Everything goes silent. So it's like I feel something being pulled across my face and everything goes silent. And the message I'm getting is that there's there isn't an expression, there isn't a speaking up, there's a quietness to you, a reservedness to you, not necessarily a shyness, but a withholding, a withdrawal, certainly around the truth of what's going on for you. And so what comes out of your mouth is a very sort of like subdued version of yourself. It's not the rawness of you. It's not the truthful expression of you. Now, when I say truthful expression, this is not saying that what you're doing is not truthful. This is just saying there's a truth to the way you feel about certain things that you're withholding from sharing, even to yourself and certainly to others. And so there's a real sort of, your female guide in particular says it could be really, really useful for you to sit down and journal or work through what is it that's truthful for you? What is it that you really, really think? What is it that you really, really feel? And to notice that so that you can at least express it to yourself. Even if it's not pretty, even if it's not what you want to be feeling, even if you don't think you understand why you're feeling it, just to honor it and to say, my boyfriend, he's busy trying to support his 13-year-old son with just trying to manage his emotions better. And he keeps reminding his son, name the feeling. And just name the feeling. Name what it is you feel. If you can just name it, 80% of the work is done. And that's, often what many of us stop doing is we kind of subdue our feelings so much that we don't even name it. And so this bringing things up, and if you're angry, just notice that's the name of it. I'm angry. You don't have to do anything with your anger, but just paying attention to it means that it's acknowledged and it's given a voice. And so sort of name the feeling is coming up for you, paying attention to what it is that's going on for you at this point in time, Donna. I hope that makes sense for you. Right, Devium. Devium Governor. Pleasure, Nikki. Devium, let us see what your guides want to say. All right, Devium. Let's see what your guides have got going on. Right, there we go. Cards are shuffled. Okay, the message that's coming forward for you, Devium, is be brave. Be brave. Be bold. And be bold is probably more of what they want to tell you. It's like, it's like a dance full out. If we had to think of being bold, if you at a sort of function or party, and you can either sort of dance in a very sort of like subdued, appropriate way, or you can just be bold and just stand out and let people see your moves, let people see what it is you have to offer. And this is really the energy they're coming forward with, Devium, is how do you just show up and let people see you? Like, here I am, take it or leave it kind of energy. Not necessarily in being arrogant or disruptive or aggressive in any of those things, but we don't need to worry about this sort of stuff. But more about not holding yourself back and letting yourself express yourself in the way that you want to be expressing yourself. They're showing me a relationship with a girl. What I mean with that is they're relating your reading to something, a reading I did for another girl. And in her case, she would go to work and she's this amazing, vivacious woman. But she'd go to work and she'd, plait her hair and she'd wear the black suit and she'd do all these things. And her guys came forward and said, where's you in the story? And her fear of being judged. And the subtle changes she's made is she just now wears like this bright necklace, or she shows up in a little bit of a bolder fashion, like just presenting herself to the world in a way that's more authentic for her than covering herself up. And they're giving you the same message for you. It's like, how do you embrace your weirdness, your uniqueness, your difference, and allow yourself to step into that a little bit more? And to get attention for that, because you will get attention, which is not the same as approval. We can't mix up attention and approval. If you're going to stand out, you need to get comfortable with attention. If you want approval, you're never going to stand out. So that's the message for you. Ashra, let us see, Ashra, what it is your guides would like to tell you tonight. I'm glad, Donna, I'm glad that makes sense for you. All right, Ashra, let's see what your guides would like to tell you. Okay. All right, Ashra, the message that's come forward for you is be peace. Be peace. So the message that your male guide is bringing forward is that you come from a group of souls that we call the peacekeeping souls. And peacekeeping souls they're very much here on a mission on Earth to help create peace. If it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. And so to help create peace is quite an interesting mission, because in much of the sort of ancestry of Earth and the history of Earth, the thing that's happened the most is fighting for peace. We go to war for peace. And the belief that we must stand up, we must almost be in the martyr, we must like march against, we must do all these things, is that by doing this, we're going to bring about peace. But the reality is the energy of fighting is the energy of fighting. It doesn't matter what we're fighting for. It's the same as if we kill. It doesn't matter what name we kill in, we're still killing. Now, they're not talking about you killing. That's not what they're doing. And so we need to understand that the concept of fighting for peace is really about, it's going to bring about more war. It's going to be about more fighting. So the peacekeeping souls that are on Earth at the moment are really in kind of a difficult place. It's a dilemma, because how do we stand up for what we don't agree with, for what's wrong in the world, but don't engage in the fight, rather bring about the possibility of peace? And Nelson Mandela as a soul is a soul that we can use as a stereotype around this, is that only when he stopped the war in himself and the hatred in himself and the anger in himself was he actually able to bring about more and more unity and more oneness and more peace. And so they bring about this message for you tonight because they're saying that this is an important thing for you to start playing with for yourself, is what is it that is your mission, and how do you embrace this peacekeeping part of you that wants to generate more peace in the world? Starts with more peace in yourself, more peace in your home, more peace in life. But how do you do this? How do you create boundaries? How do you assert yourself without creating fighting? And it is a real challenge and a real opportunity for growth and integration for you in this 3 year. So that's the message that they're bringing forward for you, Ashra, at this point in time. Right, let us see. Cooper, how are you? Right, let us do a reading for Cooper. Okay. All right, Cooper, at least it's a new card. The Cooper, the message that's come forward for you is let your heart overflow with kindness. Let your heart overflow with kindness. So your male guide is saying we need to challenge some things here. Kindness is not politeness. Okay, so people can be very polite, but they're not being very kind. So what I mean by that is, I might greet people because it's a polite thing to do is to greet everybody I meet. But you may not connect with them, you may not engage with them, you may not make eye contact with them, you may not care about them, you may not do anything. So true kindness is a sort of connection. It's like in the African culture we talk about Ubuntu, I suppose, the I see you sort of mindset. But the kindness that we're talking about here is a sort of sense of care and compassion and oneness, unity, that we're the same. So it's not politeness. There's far more of a sort of openness when we're talking about kindness here. And there's a well-known meme, I'm sure maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't, and the meme says you can either be right or you can be kind. And it's not true that it's either an either-or perspective, but sometimes, we need to notice that the need to be right means that we are engaging in sort of an argument with people all the world that doesn't always allow us to really just connect with the person. And if we just connected, we'd be able to hear what they have to say, and then we'd be able to influence them. And so sometimes kindness is just listening to someone else, just honoring that their perspective is unique and different to yours. This can be a kind thing to do. Kindness can also be about noticing the struggle in someone else and noticing that everybody's doing the best they know how to do. And this is not always easy because we're often triggered by many people. And so stepping into this consciousness of kindness also includes being kind to yourself. And that's actually where a lot of this starts, and that's the message that they most want to give you tonight, is that is how kind are you being to yourself? How much compassion, gentleness, care are you giving to yourself? And when you can start there, it gets easier to give that to other people. And so it's kind of like, I'm not sure you're going to like what they say, but go and write yourself a love letter. How do you write yourself a letter of kindness? Like, what is it you most need to hear from yourself? What would be the kindest words you could say to yourself right now? And that's a beautiful thing for anybody to do. It's like, How do you give yourself a break? What would be the kind words your heart is craving to hear, that the inner you wishes that there was an acknowledgement of? And to start there, because if we can do that for ourselves, we can do that for others in the world. Right, so there we have it. I think that brings us to the end of tonight. Oh, I'm glad, Ashra. That's the end of this week's message from Spirit. I'm here every Monday. If you're interested, there is until the end of January, there is a special. You can look on my page to have a remote reading done where you get an invitation from your higher self and 3 messages to support that invitation. What needs to be healed, where do you need to grow, and what enlightenment is available to you. And that is done as a video recording, and you get a video sent to you that you can keep for the whole year of this invitation from your higher self. So I think that's 600 Rand, and it's only available. There's a few more readings left on that. So if that interests you, you can do that. Otherwise, have a look at the courses. There's lots and lots of cool courses coming out, and there'll be lots of interesting specials coming out daily. Otherwise, just participate, engage, be somebody who spreads light in the world. Participate on the page by sharing messages of support and love and kindness to each other and to the world. And remember, everything you put out on social media is your responsibility, and you can either be the creator of more peace, more joy, more love, more happiness, or more hatred, anger, judgment, and sadness. So join me in being one of the first and not one of the latter, hopefully. Otherwise, I will see you next week, sending you all love, peace, joy, harmony, and namaste.